Yo, welcome to the Spaceless Realms Podcast. My name is Logan, and I'm here with my brother, one and only Kalki, Anthony of Egypt, and many other forms that he can morph into. So yeah, Kalki, welcome, bro. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for everything that you provide to the space. Welcome.
Yo, likewise to you. This space wouldn't exist without you. You're the Spaceless Realms podcast. I'm just the guest on here, but I seem like I'm the expert sometimes. And we all are to a certain extent. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is, how to better be who you are essentially, truly inside already. How to be a better version of yourself, essentially. And I think it's very important to actually realize that in this day and age, one of the main reasons people feel insecure, feel depressed, feel sad, feel incomplete is that we're pushed into a materialistic, capitalistic, hierarchical culture, which is based off patriarchy and machismo, which is based on the domination of male energies, if you want to put it that way. Not necessarily all men can act like that. Sometimes some men cannot be like that. So you don't want to generalize with gender typify something, but at the end of the day, it is patriarchy and it did originate from men. So at the end of the day, what I would say about that is that detaching from patriarchy is probably the ultimate way in this day and age, detaching from society's norms, detaching from their expectations of who you're meant to be, whether it be your parents' expectations, your boss's expectations. You want to live according to your truest self. The number one thing that I tell people when they're like, I'm not happy doing what I do, I'm like, do you follow your passion? Most of them will tell me, well, that's my hobby, or I don't really have that much time for this anymore. Somebody told me today that's great because he's following his passion, is a tattoo artist who told me that he had no more time for rap anymore, but he used to be like, he chilled with Exhibit, he chilled with a bunch of famous people, he did some touring with like some people that I have a lot of respect for. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. But then he's like, yeah, I had to give that up because I had my job. But the difference with him is he was living his passion doing tattoos. That's one of the highest forms of art. In my opinion, it's one of the most difficult forms of visual art to perform because it's extremely messy. And it requires a high level of expertise to ink something on a skin compared to a canvas. It's much more precise on a canvas.
Yo,
So
I want to be a tattoo artist one day, maybe as like a little side job.
that's bomb.
Yeah.
That's, to me, it is. It's an ultimate art form. It's magnificent. It's talismans. It's protection. It's
Yeah.
another way that people say. Oftentimes, they say, I've heard people tell me, "Oh, you're not that unique because you have tattoos." But I'm like, what's the percentage of people with tattoos versus without tattoos on the face of the planet? You'd realize that it's more individual and more unique to have tattoos, especially unique pieces of art on our body. That's another way to customize your individuality, if you want to put it that way. And you can design and choose everything that you do, even do it out of your own art, which is most of what I've done on my body, and some of which I haven't, to pay homage to other people. But that was still, regardless, something that was interpreted and redone, which the graffiti artist should get 99% credit for, because that's the toughest part of the job. It's not even designing it, drawing a graffiti or drawing a symbol, opinion, or kanji or something. But it's not to say that you need to have tattoos to be an individual. It's just that people who think you're not an individual because you're a nonconformist who actually decides to display art on your body, there's actually a very fallacious oxymoronic statement, because at the end of the day, everybody enjoys art. If you don't enjoy art, you're a bit of a psychopath, because music is art too. Everything else, if you remove art from life, we would have nothing. And I think that's the biggest problem that people have in their 9 to 5 conformity job in the middle of the system and society, is that we have very little time left for our passions, for our desires, for art, for free time.
Yeah, I definitely see how a lot of people can struggle with that for sure. Like, all right, so now I want you to speak more on the metaphysical aspects of how you how you travel the world. And for example, we can link that back to like ancient tribes and how they were always so fearless, but also still careful and smart about the way that they moved, traveled territories and everything like that. You know what I
Mm-hmm. That's a really good place to start,
mean?
actually, because, for example, in Aboriginal culture in Dreamtime in Mabo and Aotearoa, Dreamtime was a map, which was a way to get around, which involved navigating cosmically and navigating etherically as well as physically. So, for example, somebody might say, when you see the snake in the tall grass next to the wide lake, and to the left you see, if you're somewhere else, I'm not too sure, but let's say you see a particular tree in the savannah, then you will know that you're reaching near this village. But nowadays, people will be like, well, my GPS is malfunctioning. I don't know what's going on. I don't have reception. And that's the problem, is that we want a clear, direct, kind of static binary map of how to get from point A to point B, which in the case of the map can be very beneficial, especially if you're living in urban structures, but there's a mystical dreamlike quality, which is why dream time is so important, and very metaphysically but also literally there's a beautiful surreal and ethereal quality to being able to dream your way to somewhere, to follow synchronicities and suddenly arrive at a place you didn't expect but you always knew, or to travel in your dreams very literally, to realize that dreams are half of our waking life, which is another way to access a very, very unique part of your individuality, which is to say your dreams are your only dreams. They are you. And even if you're watching something very similar to someone else, the compendium of your experiences during that day and the visual input of your optical cortex, of your optical globes, and the cortex, the visual cortex behind that regulates that, is actually going to be determining your jumble of experiences that appear in your dreamscape unconsciously, superconsciously, subconsciously, lucidly, consciously. So on 4 different levels, essentially, you'll be functioning in a non-linear sense to piece together a puzzle of supernatural experiences and visual occurrences that then meld into a dreamscape of infinite capacity, possibilities, potential, creativity, abilities, like extrasensory ones. Essentially, you're entirely free to be your true individual self in your dreams. There's no restriction, but we've been so restricted in this life that we become restricted in our dreams, thinking that we're not allowed to dream freely.
Or live the dream in this realm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or
bro.
that it's just an illusion, but it's 12 hours of our day, or 10 or 8 or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, half of our life is spent in rest or dream state. So why would that not be just as real as this so-called life that we live in waking moments?
Nice. Like, of course, there's like empty particles and atoms that surround us all the time. And like the entire universe is always speaking to us. And we are kind of connecting. Like, yeah, let's talk more on how to connect the essence of our body to the environment that we're in, and be able to just like tune into that. And then by doing that, you're like connecting to the cosmos, and it's like you plug yourself in and then you connect to everything that's around you.
See, in Shintoism and Taoism and Eastern philosophies, they would say exactly something very similar to what you said, which is to say the Tao is all pervasive. It's everywhere. So the energy that interconnects the entire cosmos, which is the cosmos, which is Akasha, which is the Tao, which is the unnameable, essentially, this primordial energy and the interconnectedness of all concepts, of all dreams, of all enoic forms of physical manifestation that exist, even an illusion within it, in the illusion of Maya or samsara, according to Buddhists or Hindus, or Dharma Sanatana practitioners. This whole interconnectedness is actually at the root of what you explained, which is, like in Shintoism, for example, they believe if you want to be more present, you have to acknowledge that even this bed that I'm sitting on right now is sentient. Every microparticle of energy contains a form of a soul, if you want, like a blinding core that revolves at infinite light speeds, and which is actually the God particle spark, if you want to put it that way, or the goddess particle of existence in the womb of creation. Now, around that is a bunch of whirling empty space, like you said, and it's atoms whirling around at full speed that create the illusion of matter and the illusion of light. But this extreme activity, this hyperspeed activity, this light speed activity, which is occurring of the illusion, is kind of like somebody who's piecing together words or making hand mudras and dancing really quickly until they whirl together, and then you see the blurry, their blurry self becomes like a tornado. It's like you're blurring the illusion of reality by making people realize it's an illusion. So that the faster you move, the vibrational frequency that you enhance your shift to actually affects more and more people, until you break through the illusion of reality, and then you dissipate into non-matter, but then you become all pervasive. So I'd say, to bring it back to what I was just saying before that, like realizing that your glass is alive and is crystal, realizing that that reflects the infinite quartz and grains of sands of deserts that might have existed for millions of years in a glass that you're drinking orange juice or coffee in, or water or something. That's already part of the mystery and the magic of existence. Most people back in certain ages would have marveled at having a glass that somebody could buy at Walmart, but hopefully not, or somewhere else at a thrift store, say, for example, for 50 cents or 25 cents. Somebody in ancient times, a king, would have said, "Ooh, you have a crystal goblet. May I acquire this?" They would have been fascinated by seeing
Yeah.
that something could be carved so precisely out of quartz crystal and hand blown in a beautiful way before they discovered how to blow glass in that way. So everything can be a magic mystery in a sense, but one that you can unravel in the process, which is what gives you even more magic. But you have to realize that they're not things, they're not objects, just like we shouldn't objectify women or you for animals or totems, like any sentient beings, insects, plants. Everything is alive. It all contains an energy and a soul and a source.
Wow. Amazing. Well put together.
Yeah, likewise. You inspired that.
Mm.
I took the idea of the cosmos channeling into us, and I'm like, we're this compendium of all these beings. We're the
Mm.
compendium of all the plants, of all the animals that have been forcibly put into us, of all the different totems, the beings, the watch over us, our watchers, our ancestors, our kindred, our family, our relatives. Even the water that's dripping onto our bodies when we take a shower, that goes into our mouths when we drink. All of that constitutes who we are.
Mm.
And so it becomes an extremely unique individual creation, unless, of course, we brand ourselves with corporations, which are like speeches of dead bodies.
Mm. Mm.
So when people become dead flesh, then they become like zombies and they follow protocols and dogmas and morals that they don't properly comprehend because they're just following around with an empty feeling inside of them. But when you actually become sentient and conscious, the plants speak through you, the water speaks through you, the minerals, the elements, everything. You know that.
Mm. Honestly, for me though, like if I do embrace that side of myself, I'm just afraid of people judging me for like acting weird.
Oh, I've trust me, I'm still there. And I still realize that I've lost a lot of friends over that, but I don't regret it. I don't regret being the way that I've been. I actually don't for the most part. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I regret in my earlier life when I wasn't activist enough, but being too activist, I would never regret that.
Mm. It's not really just being too activist, but it's more like you stand out. And
Yeah.
maybe like I'm scared of like that side of myself where like I actually feel like a king.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Stay a prince then.
Hmm.
Be princely instead of kingly, Don't ever ask for a crown.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Thank you.
That's what I've given myself as a motto for my life, to stay a street prince in a sense. To
Huh.
live humbly, simply, but still be like a prince in the way that I act.
I like
To be able to proffer infinite riches and resources onto people, but in a way which is very smart. Like, you give 300 carats of a semi-precious jewel to someone, that's worth infinitely more than a 1 carat diamond from a store that comes from a blood-conflicted country in Africa. The diamond, anybody can give a diamond these days and it costs a fortune, but you give like a hand-carved onyx gem to someone, and then that's something nobody else is ever going to give them again in that lifetime.
Hmm.
But the diamond, somebody could give a bigger one. Somebody could give like a nicer one, or this or that. Then they can forgive you and forget you in 2 seconds.
Hmm.
But to me, that's like the industry. It's like people giving money versus me writing a song for someone. The song is priceless. Like, as somebody could say, he gave me 3 Hummers and a mansion. Your songs didn't pay my bills, and I'd say, well, I hope they, brought you some kind of solace. At the end of the day, that guy can be a piece of shit that was raping you repeatedly and then bought you a Hummer to apologize for it, and then got you a house because he felt sorry. Like some stories are horrible in this world.
Yeah.
And so to me, I get it why some people would choose material comfort over having art or having gems or having jewels, secrets, wisdom, antiques, ancient realms, portals, magic abilities. A lot of people say, well, you can't quantify it. How much is it worth? And I'll be like, it's priceless. It literally is priceless. If I explain an extrasensory perception to someone that they've never even thought in a lifetime they could learn, and I can tell them how to activate it right away, like, say, pathokinesis, just by changing someone's emotion in a positive or negative sense, you can affect their entire destiny. Because one word you could say to someone can destroy them for a lifetime.
Hmm.
So imagine that you have the ability to shift someone pathokinetically positively through art, through words, through anything, and you apply that suddenly, consciously, and you change the world. That's a priceless gift. But it's not mine to give, but I can activate it within people just by reminding them it's there. To me, that's worth more than any briefcase full of money, than any this or that. But I
Hmm.
guess some people would have to see that properly.
Hmm. Well, then what would you say to finish that off?
You know, I would say being yourself should be the easiest thing in the world. Don't try to be that. You don't want to be or try to be who you are. You just act
Don't take it too
unapologetically.
seriously.
Just be you. You know, like when so you think, oh, I don't know, this might be dangerous. If you feel like danger isn't your thing, then don't do it. But if you feel like you're like, no, I want to push myself, I want to be more daring. To me personally, I live off the thrill. Like I love living in dangerous situations. I get bored when I'm like in the middle of nowhere and I don't have much to do and I feel safe. So I juggle machetes, I make rap, I do crazy shit, I eat hot sauce, I poison train because I'm like, you know, why not? What's life if you can't live with a thrill and a bit of enjoyment and, you know, some kind of a roller coaster ride? It's more fun that way to me. So I would say enjoy yourselves to the fullest. Be your full selves, but don't listen to what society tells you yourself should be. Just listen to your inner voice.
Wow. Yeah, don't take it too seriously.
Or take what's seriously and take what isn't it, no, is not. Put everything back into context.
Okay. Put everything back into context. All right. Well, bless the space. Thank you, bro.
Yo, likewise. Always an honor.
That was very informative.
Yo, likewise. So I look forward to making many more of these sessions because people have been asking me to do this for centuries. Not centuries, but it feels like that for me sometimes. It's been decades that people have been asking me to do a series. And I'm like, okay, we'll do it one day with Mutant Academy. So you heard it live with Wolverine and Legion.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Peace to all of you.
Peace.